Hey, good morning, friends. I want to tell you some things that you maybe hadn't thought about. We're in a time period right now where Mercury is changing directions. It's going from retrograde to direct. It's fascinating as an astrologer when you meet people casually. Often they know about Mercury retrograde, even if they don't know their sun sign. It's probably the most talked about thing other than sun sign astrology that the general public has in their mind. And it's not always particularly well understood, except people always assume that it makes things go bad. It's when things go awry, where you say to somebody, "I'll meet you at the restaurant at noon," and they don't show up, and they said you never told them. It's like things like that, or where you show up and at the airport and your plane was canceled. Things that seem out of your control seem to just disappear off the schedule. I found this fascinating, and I've been in astrology for more than 50 years, and I've studied it a lot. The mechanics of the retrograde Mercury are pretty simple. 3 times a year, Mercury is moving in the opposite direction of the sun through the zodiac for 3 weeks. Now, a friend of mine, Monica Domino, who's recently passed away, a brilliant astrologer, pointed out that when Mercury is changing directions, right when it goes retrograde, as well as right when it goes direct, it seems to be the most potent. And things that we associate with retrograde Mercury happen with the greatest frequency. Nothing in creation is what we would say evil, and everything is there for our betterment if we utilize the tools that are presented with us appropriately. You know, I was married to a beautiful woman, an astrologer, for 12 years. And Catherine and I used to sit and read Meher Baba's biography at night before we went to sleep, and then for a while in the morning when we got up. This went on for years, and I think we probably read all 20 volumes of his biography, Lord Meher, during that time. One night we were reading this passage where a saint in India, Kripal Singh, goes to meet Meher Baba. And he's very advanced, very high soul. And he and his disciples are there, and he leaves. And then he stops and he thinks, "Oh, I didn't give Meher Baba these gifts that I had brought him." And then he has them taken back. And then they go on their way, and he says, "Oh, and wait a minute, I've this other thing I was supposed to give him." And his disciples carried him back. And then he was supposed to take something, a book called Sobs and Throbs. He was supposed to take them from Baba. And so Erich, Baba's disciple, goes running after the car, and they give him this book. And my wife, Catherine, turns to me and says, "I bet you Mercury was retrograde when this event happened." So I went to the bookshelf and got the ephemeris for 1956, May 18th. And yes, Mercury was retrograde at that time in Gemini, at the beginning of the sign Gemini. And I thought, wow, it doesn't matter where you go, you can't escape the destiny of what's going on. But what's the meaning of this? Mercury being retrograde is not just to make a mess of our life, it's to capture our attention to something. Maybe some of you saw this movie About Time. It's was one of Richard Curtis's feel-good movies, which I adored. The protagonist in it could travel back in time. So if he made a mistake, or he did something that he didn't like, or something happened he didn't like, he could go back in time and correct it. Well, people see that and say, "Well, I don't get it. Life isn't like that." But yes, it is. That is exactly what happens. Okay, we can't go back and, like, correct something that we didn't do well. Of course, I'm taping this right now, and if I don't like it, I can take something else. That's not going back in time, but it is correcting something that I didn't like. Mercury retrograde does this for us. It points out things that we need our attention brought to. Now, every planet except the sun and the moon can be retrograde, and some outer planets are retrograde for a very long period of the year, which means that the planet is going backwards over territory in the zodiac that it's already covered. Well, that means it's a review of our thoughts, our feelings, our behavior for whatever that planet symbolizes for that period of time. Well, Mercury, the messenger of the gods, rules sense perception, thinking, logic, you know, organization, uh, orientation, you know, communication, transportation. So this is a big hoop-de-doo. If you think of the sun as the ego, Mercury revolves around it and is the closest planet to the sun, which means Mercury, which is the symbol of the finite mind, is the natural ally of our inner sense of identity, our destiny. So we are very attached and often really identify with our mind. As Rene Descartes, the French philosopher, said, I think, therefore I am. It's like that's how we know we exist as a finite individual. I mean, and Mercury rules naming and so on, all kinds of things. But the point is, when Mercury is retrograde, it's a big hoop-de-doo because we are visioning into things that have already happened in the timeline as it moves forward. This is a very sort of mysterious proposition. What are we to make out of this? Well, for one thing, when Mercury is changing direction, like it is as I'm giving this talk this morning, it's changing from retrograde to direct. What does that mean? Well, this is very important because for about 10 days, Mercury, as it turns direct, is sitting on the same degree of the zodiac, and then it slowly moves forward. Well, when a planet is standing still, it's stationary, it's grinding down onto that spot. So our mind, our mental capabilities have a way of getting our attention. Now, how are they going to get our attention? Is it by some outer manifestation? Oh, the train's running late. Oh, my friend didn't show up when they said they were going to be here. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't write the appointment down in my appointment book. Or, gee, I thought everything was going to be fine and I showed up and it wasn't. Well, yeah, that's the outer manifestation. But we only indirectly control that. You look into the mirror, isn't the mirror's fault for how you look? Just like Mercury is the messenger, the mirror is the messenger. But to bring it back inside and say, okay, what can I do to make my life work better? Hey, guess what? Because Mercury is standing still and drilling down, you have the ability to change the rituals that are the safeguard in your life, keeping you in tune with what it is that you think you want to do next. Now, it doesn't mean that it solves all of our problems, because we may want to do the wrong thing. It's like you can have a perfect train schedule and catch the train at exactly the right moment, but the train may be going to a city that you really don't want to go to. So it takes more than Mercury to make a horoscope. We need more than our thinking ability to make things happen in our life. But at this time that Mercury is changing direction, we have an opportunity to alter things in our life in a very positive way that makes them work a whole lot better. Now, we can also talk about what happens as Mercury is turning retrograde, and I might take that up in some detail in another talk. But I'm saying these two guideposts on both sides of the 3-week period of Mercury retrograde are extremely important, as is the whole period that Mercury is retrograde. You know, Mercury is the student, and it's the part of us that is curious and is always learning, always wants to get better grades on the test, or is looking for ways of cheating and getting out of class so that we don't have to take the test at all. But regardless, Mercury is the mental chemistry that makes the clock work for us. So during this time period of Mercury turning direct, it behooves us to do an inventory over the last 3-week period and see what we could have done different, and to recognize, oh, I was confused during this period. Now, what can I do to make it better? And it is in the process of putting it into action, not just thinking about it, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. It's like actually taking action and saying, I'm going to start doing X, Y, Z, and I'm doing it right now. Anyway, this has been great fun. There's always a ton more, just as Mercury is the student, Jupiter is the teacher. We all have a Jupiter. It's our collective wisdom. The two work in pair with each other. Again, astrology is vast. We can go on any different journeys together. And we'll take something else up next time around. Thank you for spending a little time with me on this glorious day. You take care. We'll talk soon.